other things too. Meredith would hover near me during shift changes, listening to my patient reports, and later presenting my observations as her own insights. She began showing up during my rounds, questioning my decisions in front of patients and their families. Once, she loudly asked why I hadn't noticed a patient's slight temperature increase, even though I'd already documented it and adjusted care accordingly. My coworkers started avoiding me. Nobody wanted to risk being seen as my ally. During lunch breaks, conversations would stop when I entered the room. People who used to ask about Kaylee now looked away when we passed in the halls. The isolation was almost worse than the harassment. Then I met Johnny in the parking garage. He was sitting in his car crying after his shift. When I knocked on his window to check on him, he broke down completely. Meredith had been his supervisor 2 years ago. His wife had miscarried, and when he'd asked for time off, Meredith had claimed she'd had a miscarriage too. She'd gotten paid leave and flowers while he'd been written up for missing shifts to care for his wife. Johnny showed me emails where Meredith had documented his performance issues during his wife's recovery. He'd been too scared to report it because Meredith had connections throughout the hospital administration. He'd transferred to a different unit just to escape her, taking a pay cut in the process. He still had nightmares about that time. We sat in that parking garage for an hour comparing notes. Johnny mentioned 2 other nurses who'd had similar experiences. One had quit nursing entirely after Meredith claimed to have the same rare autoimmune disease she was battling. The other had transferred to a hospital 3 towns over just to avoid any chance of working with Meredith again. I went home that night and found Kaylee doing homework at the kitchen table. She looked up when I walked in, and I saw she'd been crying. Her best friend was having a sleepover for her birthday, but it was during my new night shift hours. Kaylee hadn't asked to go because she knew I couldn't drive her. She was trying so hard to be understanding, but she was just a kid who wanted to feel normal again. The next day, I tracked down Victoria, one of the nurses Joni had mentioned. She worked in pediatrics now and agreed to meet me during her break. I wonder how Meredith memorized all those fake details about her son's cancer. Did she practice her story or write it down somewhere? The way she made that scrapbook with staged hospital photos shows she really planned this whole lie carefully. She told me about how Meredith had claimed to have lupus right after Victoria's diagnosis. Meredith had used it to get premium parking, flexible schedules, and extra sick days. Meanwhile, Victoria had been disciplined for taking time for her actual treatments. Victoria still had emails where Meredith had berated her for using illness as an excuse, while simultaneously sending department-wide messages about her own brave battle with the same condition. The hypocrisy was staggering. Victoria had started documenting everything but gave up when HR dismissed her concerns as a personality conflict. I spent my lunch break in the hospital library, researching the company's whistleblower policies. The process looked overwhelming, requiring multiple levels of documentation and review. The policy also noted that false accusations could result in immediate termination. I wondered how many people Meredith had scared into silence with that threat. That evening, Meredith announced she was organizing a charity run for childhood cancer awareness. She wanted the entire department to participate, with proceeds going to a foundation she was starting in her son's honor. She got teary-eyed talking about how the experience had opened her eyes to the need for better support systems. Everyone immediately signed up and started pledging donations. I watched my coworkers eagerly volunteer for committee positions. They designed t-shirts with Meredith's son's picture and the slogan, "Survivor Strong." Someone suggested making it an annual event. Meredith graciously accepted, wiping away tears as she talked about turning pain into purpose. I felt sick watching the performance. The charity run planning consumed the next 2 weeks.